Things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts. But they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts. So I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. We're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back up. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
Good afternoon, Watchmen and Watchwomen of Patreon and YouTube. So I decided it was probably about time I went on YouTube again, just publicly, because there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, yo. There's a lot going on. And yeah, I would say what I've been saying for quite some time now. If you haven't been, get ready. We certainly have some interesting stuff coming down at us. It has been increasingly concerning, different things unfolding, all of the shootings are mind blowing, and you know, when I have a problem tying a motive with a like a mass shooting, um, it makes me think. And to my knowledge, I don't know that they have yet tied a motive, have they, to this FedEx deal. Um, when stuff like that happens, it's kind of concerning to me, and I just want to add that with this FedEx shooter, and hell, I can't keep track of them anymore. And that's honest. I can't. There was one before, and I can't remember which one. But there was one before. In both instances, the FBI had made contact with those individuals. Um, I want to say the one from Georgia, with the massage parlors. I think the FBI had been in contact with that guy, but I also think there was another one in between, if I'm not mistaken, that the FBI was in contact with the person that committed the act, or allegedly committed the act. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I really do think that we are going to see gun control absolutely slammed at us, and I don't think that there's going to be I don't think there's going to be a big fight. You know what I'm saying? I mean, don't misunderstand me. Where I'm saying I don't think there's going to be a big fight. I don't think there's going to be a big fight in government as far as getting laws passed and stuff. I don't think that there's. I think that you're going to see a lot of Republicans, try to resist the bills and stuff that go through, but I think you're going to see enough Republicans vote in favor of these gun control measures, and I think you're going to see sweeping gun control. I think, in the very least, we're looking at an assault rifle ban. And when I say that, I don't mean everybody having to turn them in. I mean a sales ban. We had one once before, and we'd be silly to think it couldn't happen again. And I think that's what we're looking at now. What's going to happen as a result of that, I don't know. I don't know. Possible motive for the FedEx shooting was singing red flag laws. I don't know what you mean by singing red flag laws. Was signing red flag laws. Sorry, I'm sure that's probably what you meant. I was reading a little bit in an article today, as a matter of fact, on that. I'll tell you what, there was another shooting in Texas today, and they, at first, I think they were going to try to come at it with, mass shooting, the typical agenda stuff, but turns out it was a cop. I don't know the whole story, but, obviously he knew the victims, and it was a extremely targeted event. But 3 people killed in Texas today at the hands of a former law enforcement officer. Now, supposedly, and I will mention this because I think it's important, and somebody needs to speak up, and I don't mind being the one. Supposedly, this guy was a police officer, and he supposedly sexually assaulted a young girl, and so obviously no longer a police officer. Um, from my understanding, he's on the run, or at least the last I knew. I believe he killed 3 people. As far as his alleged crimes, I was reading about that, and I got to thinking, is this guy guilty, or is this guy a victim of the victim society? And I mean, these are things I have to ask, and wow, it's just crazy. It's crazy. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic, but I wanted to throw that out there because the media is just going to drive one thing, and I just want to remind everybody that there is an insane fake victim culture out there. Not saying it was, and I'm not victim shaming or anything else like that. But I'm just saying when you either way, this guy's life was destroyed, right? So guilty or not guilty, I could see why somebody would react in a manner. I'm not excusing the behavior. Don't misunderstand me. I'm saying I understand the motive, the reason behind, but it could go either way. It could be, either the guy was really innocent and just extremely pissed off, or was guilty, and that's pardon me. That's the thing that I'm looking at here that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because in a lot of cases like this, what you would see would be a homicide, suicide. In a lot of cases like this, the suspect will take out their attackers, and then they'll usually turn the weapon on themselves. And apparently that wasn't the case here in Texas. So not here, I'm not in Texas, but I mean there in Texas. Apparently that's not the case. So very interesting. And again, I didn't mean to get off on a tangent on that, but I pay close attention to stuff, and especially different news stories like this. And when things don't add up, I kind of pay a little closer attention, and I will be watching that situation closely. So anyway, and again, I didn't mean to get targeted on the shooting down there in Texas, or even any of these shootings in particular, or even gun control, because we've got really so much to talk about. But I will tell you to be prepared for that. As far as the gun control, how can you be prepared for that? Well, I mean mentally. Because otherwise the only thing you can do is go out and buy a bunch of pew-pews. So the problem is without having the wide availability of food for said pew-pews, what's the point? So anyway, trying to think of where I want to go next. Conflict. Well, let's stay in the country. Let's stay in the country for a little bit before we go abroad, shall we? So I mentioned the gun control here domestically. We've got another issue here, obviously, domestically, and that's with civil unrest. That has been massively increasing, and I expect it to get much, much worse. As you know, there have been other shootings since since this trial has started. When I'm speaking of the Derek Chauvin trial, there has been shootings since that started. Surprise, surprise! It seems like it happens every time. Am I wrong? And so there are more protests sparking up from that. Lots of conversation on that situation with that shooting, and I'm speaking of the situation where the officer claims to have thought she had her taser when she had her sidearm, and fatally wounded a young man. You know, all I can say to that is each and every one of us is supposed to be responsible. And if I took somebody's life on accident because I thought I grabbed something, but inert, and I didn't, and as a result, I took their life, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some legal recourse. And so, take that as it may. I don't know what's going to happen here, but even, admittingly, it's negligence, and we'll see what happens. But that has sparked some more protests. I don't know which way this Chauvin thing is going to go. Who knows? We can all sit here and speculate. We can all draw conclusions. None of us really, truly knows in the end. I will say this, and I haven't been following it close enough to be able to sit here and tell you, okay, well, they're going to do such and such. I want to say, doesn't deliberations or something start tomorrow? I want to say. I think I've heard that. So I know we're wrapping it up. But here's the thing. And I may be jumping the gun on here a little bit. But in the many trials that we have been doing the Watchman News for, we've been doing it since 2014. There's something I notice different right now that I don't know if I recall ever seeing before. Ever. I don't know that I ever recall seeing a lack of a call for more, security, should I say? Here's the thing. In all these previous trials, at some point shortly before and maybe I'm jumping the gun on this. Yeah, I think I'm jumping the gun on this. Shortly before, it's time to get down to business, they start beefing up security, and they start, making a media, very visible media front when it comes to that. And they haven't been doing that. So maybe I'm jumping the gun on that. Maybe I'm a little too soon. But it doesn't seem so. We'll see how that plays out. But keep an eye on that, because we could see this really spark up to something ugly. And I think there are a lot of people right now that have a lot of pent-up angst, we'll call it that, because I think it's a myriad of things. I don't think it's any one thing in particular. I don't think it's just from being cooped up. I don't think it's necessarily just anger. I don't think it's necessarily just anxiety, people wanting to get out and do something. I don't, COVID, I don't think it's any one particular thing. I think it's a culmination of things. And I think that people at large in this country are on edge. And I'm not just speaking about the people that are out protesting right now, the Chauvin trial. I'm speaking everybody, pardon me, everybody in general in this country are on edge. And, I see any number of things sparking off in this country. Well, we spoke about gun control. You better believe that if they get, down and dirty on gun control, meaning they, the government, I do believe that you're going to see people standing up for their Second Amendment right. I don't know in which way, but you're going to see something, whether it be protest, rallies, whatever. You're going to see something. But I also want to remind everybody of a few things. Number one, I'm addicted to nicotine, and so, yeah, I'm going to have a vape. Not really on topic, but... So, vaccines. I still have a pretty big concern they're going to be made mandatory. Vaccine passport. Another item that while it may not be made legally mandatory, it might be made almost impossible to live life without. COVID itself, meaning we'll call it lockdowns for lack of a better word. It was hard for me to ever call it a lockdown. And, we live in Illinois, and it was hard at any point to ever call it a lockdown. We were never locked down, confined to our homes where we couldn't walk outside. So it's hard for me to call it a lockdown. Now, whatever the hell you want to call it, because obviously things aren't the same as they were, I do think that there's going to be restrictions come back, or at least a threat of restrictions come back. Because in all these other countries, you're starting to see all this rhetoric about this, third and fourth waves. And you're going to see it here, too. At some point, you're going to see them try to pull it here. And why do I put it that way? Because the data is coming in from states like Florida, states like Texas, and they're not breeding grounds for COVID. The states that have started lifting their restrictions and stuff like that are not showing a significant rise in new infection. So I think that undoubtedly you are going to have some governors or whatever, whether it be your state, county, local, whatever, and federal, got to include them. I think you are going to see them try to once again apply more limitations on us in lieu of how did this all start out? Flattening the curve. in lieu of flattening the curve. 15 days, right? 15 days to flatten the curve. I don't think, back to the point, sorry, I don't think that's going to go over so well. And I don't think mandatory vaccines, nor, heavily encouraged vaccine passports, I don't think any of that's really going to sit real well. Now, from my understanding, and I've been reading lots of different articles on it, there is a whole lot of vaccine hesitancy in this country. A lot. Rightfully so. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think that they're going to get the willing participation that they either want nor have targeted, because I think they had an idea of what they were going to get, but I think they were off. Just I don't know, a gut feeling, okay? Just saying, just a gut feeling. I think they thought they were going to get a lot more willing participants, but they didn't. And so I think that they are going to use several methods to encourage people. And then at some point, I do believe that they will probably try to make it mandatory. So we'll see. Trying to think if there's anything else. Let me have a sip of tea or coffee. And we've got so many things I could talk about. I'm not nearly going to cover even the surface of everything that's on my mind. We've got a lot of stuff going on. A lot of interesting stuff economically, whether it be with crypto, whether it be with the stock market. Lots of interesting stuff, and like I say, my advice would be to get ready. I'm sure that most people have probably blown through their last stimulus check by now. I hope that people either use that, I hope they used it to better themselves in one way or another, not just blow it and get a nice big ass cool TV. Hopefully people used it to better themselves. Which, by the way, I guess I was going to talk about that, and because we used ours to further our lives. One of the things that we had bought, we still haven't gotten it yet, is a shed so that I can get a lot of stuff that's in here out of here. So we've got more room in here to put more preps. So anyway, just kind of trying to increase our storage space outdoors so that we can do more with storage or prepping stuff here indoors. So we're waiting on the shed. I've got a lot of projects that I intend to get going, but I'm stuck until I get that shed up. And the reason why is because we have literally no room. If I turn that camera around, you would see a bunch of stuff just kind of piled, stacked. Kind of looks like a hoarder house at the moment, because I'm waiting. And we've got shelves, we've got totes, we've got all kinds of stuff. And I'm waiting to get the shed, because once I get the shed up and get this closet emptied out, the shelves are going to go in there. And, of course, the totes will go on the shelves once they get filled up. And, but all this stuff right now is just kind of sitting out and around because I'm waiting. So, a bunch of stuff to come. It's just, I've got to wait until I get the shed. So, I believe the next week or two it's supposed to be shipped. So, it is what it is. I'm just grateful. So, but yes, get prepped. As big or little, as fast or slow as you can. Just don't put it off, and don't be discouraged. Don't think that you can't do it, because you can. And it doesn't matter whether you have a ton of stuff or you're just starting out. Every day that you get prepared to extend your life and the life of your loved ones is another day. So that's why I'm saying it doesn't matter how big, how small, how fast, how slow. Just work at it. It's not a race. We don't have just hordes and hordes of stuff, and you guys will see it as soon as I get this stuff, because that's part of what I'm doing. I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna take you on the journey when I do this. So when I put the shed up, when I get this all cleared out, when I put the shelves in here, I'm essentially turning this into a prepper closet is what I'm doing. And I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing. You guys will see what our preps consist of. You guys, I don't, here, this is all we have. I mean, this is, we don't have, we don't have 50,000 pounds of food stored in the basement because we don't have a basement. So you'll see. I mean, ain't got a ton. And the thing of it is, like I always tell people, don't get discouraged, but 3 months at a minimum, that should be your first target. That should be your first goal, is to be able to survive 3 months without having to have any type of extra food or anything like that. The only thing that I tell people that they should have to be, well, not have to, but the only thing that they should need to go get in an SHTF situation for however many days, months, whatever that they've got supplies for is water. Because, most of us can't store enough water to be able to last any real length of time. So, that's kind of a given. Somebody's going to have to go out and get water. So, but you can most definitely store enough food. Oh. Well, turn up the volume. Howdy. But yeah, I mean, just do what you can. Just do what you can. And you don't have to, like I've been telling people, I want to remind folks again, you don't have to go out and buy the 30-year shelf life food, folks. I don't think we've got that long, right? I really don't think that we've got that long. And think about it. Think about what you could buy with $200. Think about what you could buy in freeze-dried, long-term storage foods from whoever. It doesn't matter what company. Think about what $200 would buy you. And then you take that same $200 and you go to a place like Costco's or I don't know the names of the different places, but you know what I'm saying. These bulk stores. Sam's, I know, is one affiliated with Walmart. You take that same $200 and you go to one of those types of places, or you go to an LDS place, or you go to an Amish place. You are going to get just an absolute ton of food, for that same $200 as what you bought, freeze-dried. So just keep that. Now, I always recommend that you do have freeze-dried foods and stuff like that on hand. I recommend that you have, 3 different, I'm going to say, types of foods. Now, follow me on this, okay, because I'm not talking about, food groups or nothing like that. I think you should have your long-term storage foods. Now, these are going to be like your grains and stuff like that. And I do think that you need to have some type of freeze-dried meals that you can make in a relatively, quick amount of time. And then at the same time, I also think that you need to have MREs, because there may be times that a situation dictates that you not be using any type of cooking, equipment whatsoever. If you had an MRE with a MRE heater, then that would be perfect for those times. So when I say 3 different types, that's what I'm talking about. 3 different types of preparation, short, moderate, and a little more in-depth when it comes to preparing the food. Because different situations, different, lengths of time that you have to be able to prepare a meal. So, but anyway, you don't have to go out and buy all the super expensive stuff. That's not what it's all about. But I highly suggest people get prepared. And while we're on the subject of preparedness, we'll add what I've been saying. because hey, I know COVID-19 blindsided me. Now, when I say that, don't misunderstand me. I don't think it's the plague or anything like that. But let's just say it was something more serious. I didn't have the preps on hand to properly deal with a pandemic. In fact, I still don't have the preps on hand to properly deal with a pandemic. A true pandemic, not COVID-19. I mean a true pandemic, something that's really wiping people out. And so, I want to remind everybody with the increased tensions globally that it's probably a good idea to get uh, some gas masks rated for radiological situations, and iodine tablets, or I should say iodide tablets, I guess. I would highly recommend folks look into those. I know I need to look into it for us. Um, oh, cause we went through and cleared out all of the uh, all of the wrenches. Actually, we cleared out every one of them. I can't even remember what went on. That's been quite some time ago, though. Been a little while. Don't take it personal. There was nothing there to it. Um, but yeah, you know, I think we need to be as widely prepared as possible here. Which I know that's kind of a given anyway, but um, I don't know where this is going to go. Could it turn nuclear? Absolutely. And I know we haven't really discussed that situation, or I should say those situations yet. And there's not a whole lot that I can add to it that you haven't already heard, or can't find readily available out there. There is a lot of tension between a lot of nations. And I don't mean just the United States and other nations, yeah, big time, but also between other nations and each other. There are tons of conflicts just waiting to happen, all throughout Europe, Asia. I mean, it's incredible. Um, and there are a lot of countries that are increasingly getting pissed off at the United States, and that's not a good situation to be in. Um, you know, I I don't think we are going to see a troop withdrawal by September 11th as promised. I think that's another false date, just as we've had so many before. I don't think we're going to see a complete troop withdrawal. In fact, I don't even know how much of a withdrawal we'll see. I think that we're going to keep resources in as many areas as possible throughout the Middle East and beyond everywhere. Because I really do think that things are going to flare up. And I have a feeling that just about any one of these situations flares up, the United States is going to get involved. And man, life as we know it can change in the blink of an eye. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean nuclear annihilation or anything like that. It could be a cyber attack. It could be a grid down situation. You know, you have to understand, even if we had a cyber attack that left us with a nationwide grid down for 3 months, let's say 3 months we went down, the amount of death in that amount of time would be insane. Would be absolutely insane. And that's why I'm saying it's critical that you're prepared, to the level that you can avoid contact with others. And I keep saying that. I keep saying that. And there's a reason I keep saying that, because let me tell you something. When it comes to desperate people, if you communicate with desperate people in an SHTF situation, you have to make sure you do so on your terms, 110% on your terms. And the best bet is not to have to make contact with people. So, and I'm not saying, let me make this clear too, because this is a concern of mine as well. It also doesn't mean that everybody you make contact with is a bad person. Okay, and let me make that very clear. Because unfortunately, I think a lot of innocent people are going to come in harm's way simply because people are scared, and maybe somebody's looking for, I don't know, whatever, a little bit of food or a little bit of water or whatever the case may be, and harm come their way simply because they walk down the wrong street or whatever. You don't want to be in that position. You don't want to be one of those people having to go search, having to go look for something to eat for yourself or your family. That's what I'm saying. The only allowance that I tell people to allow themselves to really need to go get in an SHTF situation is water. I know, it would be absolutely impossible for me to store enough water for us to survive any length of time, as it would most of you. So that's a given. But do what you can on the food. There are cheap alternatives, like I said. One good thing to remember is breakfast foods are cheap and easy and store long term, like oats, pancake mix, stuff like that. Stores long term, long enough term, and it's quick and easy to make, and just need water, and you're good to go. And that's at least something that's good and filling, that gets you going in the morning, and then you just go from there. You definitely, when you choose things for food, choose something that you will eat, and then make sure you'll eat it. The soups that we have been getting, the Bear Creek soups that I've showed you guys, and I'll show you again when I put them in totes and stuff. Those soups, we went through each flavor soup that we have to make sure that we like it, because again, you don't want to store up a bunch of stuff that you don't like. Now, one of the flavors Jen doesn't like that much. I love it, but Jen doesn't like it that much. So gonna make sure not to get too much of that, because I'm not gonna force her to eat it when there's, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 or whatever different flavors. But just keep knocking away at those things. I do not believe that we've got a very long time. I do believe that we are right on that edge. And when I say that, I'm speaking about every situation mentioned. I think when it comes to civil unrest, I think we're right on that edge. We're teetering. And I think that aside from all the stuff going on with, like, the Chauvin trial and all that, but I think just with people's tension in general, and with what I see coming down the pike as far as gun control, as far as restrictions with COVID-19, mandates, I think that there's going to be a large increase in civil unrest. I really do think that it's the time. I also think, and I need to mention this, and it's not anything you haven't already heard or don't know, but it needs to be brought up with all this inflation, and it's already been starting to be revealed, and so it's important that we try to get stocked up as quick as we can because prices are going to just keep going up. And we've already started seeing that. Of course, the examples that you've seen over and over and again are the wood. The prices of wood are just mind blowing. But food prices are starting to increase. Other everyday type of items are starting to increase in price. And I think we're going to just see this continue to increase and expand as well into other products. Now, another bit of news that I'm sure you're aware of is the big semiconductor shortage. I think that is really going to make a big impact as well. I think that is going to drive up the price of certain electronic goods. So anything like that you need, you better get on it. Better get on it. And if you're in a situation where you just can't get on it, I don't know what to say, but focus on what's important. If you need more food, don't buy the laptop, okay? I would highly recommend against it unless you need that laptop to run your, security systems and missile launchers. Aside from that, I would make sure that you're taken care of as far as food and make sure you got medical supplies on hand and all the goodies. But it's crazy. It is crazy what I'm watching unfold right in front of me, and it's like a freight train. I see it like a freight train coming, and I don't know where we're headed, and I don't know where we're going to wind up. I just know that I'm going to do my very best to be on the right side of the history, and I think that's pretty easy to do, to be honest. But, wow. And one of the things that really is starting to mentally kind of hit me, and this may sound strange to you, I don't know, but just the amount of general lunacy, like the stuff that people are being offended by, and I know it's been insane, but I mean it's every day it gets more insane, and now it's just to the levels that it's just like I mean, it's absolutely just there's nowhere good that can go. There is nowhere good that this direction that society is going can go. Whether it be the cancel culture, whether it be, this whole I'm offended by this, I'm offended by that. I saw a post on Facebook earlier today, and it had me thinking. And the guy was because I've got friends from all walks of life on my Facebook, and they're all more than welcome to be there. And this was one from the liberal side, and he was talking. They were talking about how somebody was offended, and more or less approaching it the attitude that others are responsible for not offending them. And that's not how it works. That is simply not how it works. I am not responsible for not offending you. That's not, you can't put that on me. You can't put that on anybody else. The only one that you can put being offended on is you. That's it. You can't put that anywhere else. Now, there are things that I could do in places that would be not right, that the act and the place would be both, it would make for an offensive thing. But for instance, if you come here and you watch the show and I say something and you take offense to it, okay, well, that's fine, but I'm not responsible for that. Okay, it's not, I don't own that offense, you do. And what you do with it is entirely up to you. But what you don't have a right to do is tell me that I can't say that offensive thing. And that's what's going on in this country. So widespread. People are absolutely, and it's both sides. It's not conducive to just one side. It's both sides. And both sides of everything, not just political parties. I'm talking about every cult, because I call them cults. It's both sides of every cult. And it's crazy. And nowhere good can come from here. Nowhere good. And that's what I'm telling you. Get ready. Because even as a society, even if you throw out every other nation, you throw out the prospect of war with all these other countries or in between these other countries or any of that, and we just looked at our own country, we're in some deep shit. Big time. In every direction we turn. We've got societal issues that can't be healed. There is no healing these societal issues. There isn't. And it's going to be a very... Man. When I look at society, here's what I see. When I look at society, and when I say this, let me be very clear on this. I'm not speaking about like everybody in society, all of you, or anything like that. I'm not speaking that. When I'm saying this, I'm speaking like the liberal society, the liberal part of society. Man, I'm telling you, there's a lot of rude awakenings coming. And when I look at that part of society, I swear all I see is that spoiled child, right? That finally, for the first time, gets in trouble and actually has to pay consequences. I have a feeling we're about to see that moment at large here in the United States of America. And it's not going to be pretty. It is not going to be pretty. I never thought that I would see even remotely the possibility of a civil war in this country. And let me say that I chose those words carefully. A civil war, not a revolution. Hell, I've always wished for a revolution. Civil war, never thought it would even be a possibility. Because I didn't think that you'd ever be able to divide people that much. And I'm still in awe at how divided our society is. Even the families. There are very few tight-knit families anymore. Neighbors don't know neighbors. I mean, it's just we're primed. We are primed. I'm telling you. The social engineering worked well. And you better believe that that's what led up to a lot of this was engineering. It wasn't by chance. It wasn't just chaos wound us up here. This was engineered. Glider. I'm not sure what you're talking about. But yeah, I mean this has been carefully, meticulously engineered to this point. So, will it be all for naught? I don't know. It's possible it will be. If you struck us with a major event in this nation, like right now, just boom, a major event, then you might see enough unity pull together to do some good. You might. But I think it would depend on how things played out. You know, I think if there was if it was any way of a slow rollout into a deep SHTF, like say a grid down would actually be a bit of a slow rollout into an SHTF, right? Because that's not like cities being bombed or anything like that. That's kind of like, oh, the power's out, and then a couple of days later, shit, this probably ain't coming back on, right? So, it's a little bit of a slower acknowledgement, I'd say, of SHTF. But, well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a lot of, like I was saying, a lot of rude awakenings, and make sure you don't have to deal with any of that. Oh, now I know what you're talking about. Oh, wow. Only 6 hours away now, huh? Yeah, FAR 103, but I don't own I don't own an ultralight, so I'd have to acquire one. But yeah, it's crazy times. What can I say? And I wanted to go public on YouTube tonight, just kind of to touch base and as a reminder, we've still got a ton of headlines to do. A little coffee left. I know I got a little backup tea over there. Oh, what's this? Oh, a hitter box. Huh? Oh yeah, that's right. It's legal here anyway. But yeah, I think if I was folks, I would be pretty focused. I would be making my priorities on preparedness. I really would. We have to get a level of organization and storage expansion before we could do anything at all. I mean, we are just literally that cramped. But anyway, trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, there were so many headlines over the weekend. It was unreal. I was constantly putting them out. I'm in thought. I'm trying to think if there was any that, like I say, there were so many different things that came out, and I'm trying to think if there was something kind of oddball that I haven't mentioned or brought up yet. There's a lot, and if there's something, when I do headlines, there's a headline I got something to say about, I'll say something about it. But what this is the thing that frustrates me. Just a side note. I have never in my life sat there and watched the scientific, and when I say scientific, I mean in all areas, whether it be medical, biological, geological, whatever. The amount of advancements and discoveries that we've made in the last couple of years are astronomical. And the things that we have learned have been mind blowing. And, here we are, all these nations on the cusp of warring with one another. All these individuals of these nations on the cusp of warring with each other. And yet, we are the most advanced that we'd ever been. We could easily wipe out most illness. I mean, the amount of things that we could do is just amazing. And here we are, focused on ripping each other apart. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Blows my mind. I mean, it's amazing. I am blessed to put out these headlines that I do every day because I do see a lot of bad stuff, but I also see a lot of good stuff. I see a lot of advancements and, like I say, and I can't think of if there was anything in particular today. I don't know if that's why this topic coming up, but I see it all the time. All the time seeing advancements. The other interesting thing I'll note to that is I'll see headlines on something, some type of advancement in one direction or another, and I'll never see another damn thing about that again. Especially if it's some type of new technology, if it's some, it's just incredible that we don't have graphene batteries by now. I'll put it that way. But a lot of interesting stuff going on. And like I say, all areas of science, not just medical, biological, geological. I mean, every single area. Astronomy, massive advancements. I'm enjoying a vape. Let me bring up the browser here. Do some headlines here in a moment. And I guess I never really kind of stuck with the topic of the show, but yeah. I do believe that if we're destroyed, it will be from within. And this is blowing my mind too, and I wanted to mention this. And it was the whole reason I even used the thumbnail picture I did. And so figure that out. We're at the end of the monologue, and now I'm bringing it up. So, let me get this straight. What Trump said on January 6th incited a siege of the U.S. Capitol building, allegedly. And that's bad. 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 Bad Trump. But Maxine Waters can go and try to incite people. And that's fine. And I know I'm not telling you anything. I know I'm speaking to the choir about this. But damn. Really? I mean, you would have thought that maybe, just maybe, the left would have toned it down a little bit after going after the right so hardcore about what happened January 6th. You might have thought that the left might be a little more careful about using that type of rhetoric and tone. Nope. So, and that's one thing that's going to lead to more civil unrest here too, or one thing with the potentiality to cause civil unrest is the inequality in this country right now, as far as ideologies, because if you have a ideology that's aligned more to the right, well, you're just a bad person. So it's ridiculous how this works. This whole I'm going to use the word identity politics, the words, but what I'm talking about spans much more than just identity. I'm sure there's a word for it, or 10,000 words for it. Damn it. Out of coffee now. See how that works? Alright. Let me have a few vapes. We'll muddle through these headlines because there's a ton of them. But I'll say it again. Get ready. Get ready. As best you can. Absolutely. I can't wait, And I know that this deal that I'm doing with the shed and the closet and all that, I know that's not putting more preps up, but it's organizing ourselves on a level that we've never been yet. And not only just with our preps, but with our whole life, to be honest. It's going to allow us to actually get organized. I mean, since we've been together, we started out kind of organized because we didn't have anything. But since we've been together, we've gotten a lot of stuff. And as we've gotten stuff, it would get a little bit scattered. Not everything would be in the same place. You know what I'm saying? For instance, computer stuff. I might have computer stuff here and computer stuff there. This will give us a chance to be able to get all that stuff organized and consolidated, and everything have its own little place, even if it's its own little place in a storage shed outside, or its own little place in the prepper closet, right? So that's a big deal. And then once I'm able to do that, then I can take a look at that shelf and say, okay, well, we've got room for some more oats. So let's get some more oats. Let's get some more pancake mix. We need to get more syrup. Stuff like that, I think it's a big step. My hope is that we still have several months that we can prepare. That's my hope. But I know without taking this step, there is nothing more that we can do because we have nowhere where we can store it. And that's the problem. I mean, we are literally that much up against the wall when it comes to that. So, and then once doing this, we'll be fine. We'll be golden. We'll be good. at least for a little while. So, um, well, I'm looking so forward to it. So, looking forward to taking you guys along the journey and showing you a few little tips and tricks on putting that shed together and strengthening it so that should a bad storm come or something like that, it much more durable, much more likely to be able to hold up to any strong winds or anything like that. Because let me tell you what, they make this stuff so cheap these days, and they use as little stuff as possible. So even screws, they will try to get down to as few, absolute few screws as possible. And when you're talking about, real thin, super thin metal that, is put together to make a wall, you sometimes need to do a thing or two here and there to help that out, especially when said walls don't have all the screws that they used to have. That's the big thing. They don't have all the screws that they used to, and a lot of that wall just is supposed to snap in place and stay with a smile, and it doesn't. So by taking rivets and adding rivets to those seams, you are massively, increasing the durability of that wall. So in every direction. So I can't wait to show you guys that. And then after I get all that stuff done, maybe we can get started on a stove project, and among many, many other projects. But even getting to that, I'm going to have a lot of content for you guys because of the shed itself. And then when I do this closet, like I say, I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, how I'm going to set it up. And, I don't know if they're good ideas, bad ideas, whatever. I'll find out. If they're good ideas, maybe they'll help you out. If they're bad ideas, well, I'll figure it out and maybe we'll learn together. So, but I think I'm going at it the right way. We'll see. And I think that's going to be, I've got 3 shelves, 3 shelf units, and I think that's going to be fine. I think that's going to be about all I'm going to fit in there in that spot. Now, I've been debating taking the shelf that I've showed you guys before that's behind me and putting it in that closet too. I'm really seriously debating that and clearing that area out over there that's again behind my back because I just would like to clear it out and have more space, and I would like to clear up as much space for Jen to be able to get around as possible because since we've been here, I've had, for her to get from the living room to the kitchen, she's had to make kind of a tight corner. And she struggles a little bit getting around that corner. And I want to clear that out so that she doesn't have to sit there and maneuver so much to get around that corner. So if that means putting that shelf, in the closet instead of where it's at, that's fine. No big deal. But I just, and at the same time, I'm wanting to try to get this place a little bit more like just a home, So, a home, but a prepared home. And I think the idea of putting the preps in the closet is a good idea. So we'll see. Like I say, I'm going to take you guys on the journey. And got a lot of stuff to do. So I know I need to do probably a final update video on the tent, the grow tent. There's nothing in the big tent right now. The big tent's empty. The little tent, the tomatoes are still going strong. I probably need to do like a final update video on that because I don't think much more is going to come from that. I need to harvest the tomatoes that are ready. And then let the ones that are remaining ripen, harvest those. And then the only thing in there is the onions. And I'll probably let those go and see what happens with those. But at the same time, I'm trying to mentally work out how I want to do this when it comes to the small tent. That's another big project that I'm going to be taking you guys on. How I'm going to set this up, because I want to do the hydroponic system in it. But the issue is, right now, for one, I don't have money to work with, period. So that's one issue. When we take a look at that issue, we have to understand that anything that I do in the future, I'm going to have to do on a budget, because I don't got the money. And right now, the cost of things like PVC are insane expensive. And so I'm trying to come up with alternative ways to build this hydroponic system without utilizing PVC, instead finding something else I can use to be able to do it and save some money. So we'll see. But anyway, so I'm working on that, trying to come up with a system that I think would be adequate, and then I'm gonna see what I can really get going on in there, because that's the whole idea. I want to get that thing producing an insane amount of food for a little bitty 2 foot by 4 foot space, and that's the goal. So anyway, got a lot of stuff that in the works, a lot. So the stove's going to be a big project. I can't wait to get started on that. That's going to be an in-depth project. So yeah, I think I've about covered all the updates and then some, when it comes to where we're at. So I know I haven't been putting out the headlines videos on YouTube. It's just I've been worn out, absolutely worn out, and I feel so stuck, because that's where everything is right now. We can't do anything with anything right now. We're kind of really limited on lots and lots of stuff. So it is what it is. Trying to think. Trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think so. I think that pretty much covers everything. I've told you of the updates. I don't think I've got anything else in the works right now. I do want to do a little bit of content about, I do want to do some content, some videos about drones. I still never have gotten around to any of that. But I do want to do some content on that. And of course, I want to do some content on some kind of like behind the scenes kind of stuff when it comes to that, why I chose the products that I chose and all of that. And I want to do all that. So I've got a lot of plans for this summer. So a lot of plans. And I'm trying to figure out more stuff that I can do outside, hands-on stuff. So lots of plans. So one thing at a time. We have a drink here. Some of it will be Patreon exclusive. Some of it will be on YouTube. I don't know how I'm going to work on all that yet. Hell, I don't know. One day at a time. There's so much going on, and like I keep telling everybody, get prepared, but don't stop living life. And so it's a hell of a balancing act, right? Because I spend a lot of time looking at a lot of the things that are going on in the world, and spend a lot of time on that. And at the same time, right, I'm trying to come up with more and more ways for us to move forward and to keep advancing. And it can be a hell of a balancing act. It really, truly can. And I always tell people never to give up. And I mean that. And I mean that through all aspects of everything. Never give up on what you're trying to achieve. And at the same time, don't give up on trying to achieve things because the end is coming. The end is nigh. So why try? No, 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 no. Don't look at it like that. Just like I wouldn't tell you to go out and max out a bunch of credit cards on prepping stuff. No, because if nothing happens, you're going to put yourself in one hell of a bad position. I would never recommend somebody do something like that. So, you always want to look to the future. You want to look out as far as what you can and make sure that the things that you're doing today don't threaten that future. And, so yeah, absolutely get prepared. Do everything you can to get prepared. Work feverishly at it. But don't stop living life. Don't stop trying to move forward. And that's why I'm trying to move forward with what we're doing. What does all the future of me, us hold? I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I know that I'm supposed to be here doing the news. I do know that I want to get more hands-on involved in things, how-to, prepping type of stuff. I know that we own other domains. I know that we have other YouTube channels. I know there's like the sky is the limit. And one of the domains that we own, by the way, is Dirt Cheap Preps. So like I literally own dirtcheappreps.com. I own that domain, which would be the great, the perfect domain name for a budget prepper website. And I would love to do that. I would absolutely love to do that. I would love to get involved with the YouTube channel, to start a YouTube channel that focused on helping people get prepared on a budget. That was the primary focus of the channel and the website and the whole 9 yards. But I'm only one person. So, but I do have that domain. I've got that YouTube channel, brand, whatever you want to call that. I did all that some time ago, so. But I'm only one man. Oh, well. Okay. Another sip of tea. Yes. Thought I did something wrong. Anyway, I reckon we could do some headlines. Now that we're almost an hour and a half in. It's been a while, right? Fun times. All right. Let's see. Gonna do all of them from Friday, so obviously we're I knew I was gonna do that. Vaping, so I started choking. Cause I'm smart. Okay. Obviously we're gonna start with Friday's headlines, and I'll let you know as we transgress the days. So anyway, starting with Friday, Fauci rescued from grilling over COVID-19 restrictions and civil liberties. Pardon me. As as Maxine Waters scolds GOP colleague. Florida bill toughens punishment against rioting, looting, and monument destruction as Democrats mourn death of First Amendment. 8 people killed and many wounded in mass shooting at FedEx facility in Indianapolis. Obviously, again, this is Friday's news. France finally outlaws sex with children under 15 in Dumo-Kushner incest scandal reignites age of consent debate. So I guess up until now, it was legal. That's crazy. China's economy sees record growth after COVID-19 pandemic slump. China administers 183.55 million COVID-19 vaccines in the fight against the pandemic. Yeah, that exact number, 183.55 million. No more, no less. New Zealand wants to ban cigarette sales to anyone born after 2004 as part of plan to make nations smoke-free by 2025. You know, that, pardon me, that is something I am surprised that they haven't already done here. Oil prices could drop to $10 a barrel in 2050, energy consultancy warns. Turkey bans use of cryptocurrencies for payments, citing possible irreparable damages. South Korea's president replaces PM and reshuffles cabinet in aftermath of crushing local elections defeat. Pakistan shuts down social media for hours after days of violent anti-France protests. Britain's negotiator calls on Brussels to respect Belfast Agreement, but says EU talks have positive momentum. Yeah, so sorry, I butchered that headline, as I do many of them. Western allies of Ukraine supplying Kiev regime with weapons and inciting bloody, destructive force in Donbass, Russia claims. Still on Friday, deposed Myanmar officials and pro-democracy protesters from National Unity Government amid military coup. Google faces millions in fines after Australian court rules in world-first case that misled users about data collection. One and done study suggests recovered COVID-19 patients may only need single vaccine dose. Crazy market euphoria may wane by the end of the year, analyst says to boom bust. Beijing says U.S. return to Paris Agreement is not return of the king, but return of the student who skipped school. So these tensions aren't getting any better between the U.S. and China. I don't expect them to get any better. And like I said, I don't know which powder keg is going to go off first. I kind of don't suspect that it's going to be the China powder keg, though. I really, at this particular moment in time, the thing I am watching the most closely is Ukraine. That would be what I'm watching the most closely at this particular moment. A salmonella outbreak in Denmark linked to popular herbal digestive supplements claimed 3 lives, Danish health watchdog says. Doesn't sound like it was too healthy. COVID-free trains start operating between Rome and Milan. Iran successfully produces 60% enriched uranium days after active sabotage at Natanz nuclear facility. We are not thinking about canceling. Head of Tokyo Olympics vows games will go ahead as planned. Sweden eases lockdown measures, but only for people who've had COVID jab. Hong Kong billionaire and newspaper tycoon Jimmy Lai gets 12 months in prison for role in anti-Beijing protests. Let's see. Dogecoin skyrockets 300% in a week, sparking up bubble fears. Again, we're on Saturday's news. Highly probable EU won't renew AstraZeneca or Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine contract, French minister says. A Russian scientist plan to launch world's first edible COVID-19 vaccine and promise it will taste like fermented milky yogurt. Yuck. As drones increasingly become vital part of military operations, Russian company announces new factory solely for producing UAVs. In other words, they're going to beef up their military drones. FedEx to reevaluate policy barring phones at work after employees caught in deadly shooting were unable to call loved ones. You know, I've got a lot of mixed feelings on that, but I think overall, I think in today's world, it's not a bad idea that people have a communication device on them at all times, including school-age children. Just because of the world that we live in. I can't look at today's world, you know, when it comes to communications technology, and at the same time think of a 90s life or an 80s life that wasn't as complicated as what life is today. And I know it's a compounding thing that technology is actually complicating life in a sense that it allows us to do so much more. And so therefore, we do, in a lot of cases, we do so much more. And I think it's a good idea to be able to have that pretty much instantaneous contact with loved ones. I'm not a fan of their rule of not, you know, at the same time you have to understand I've done supervision in my life, and I get I get what it is to have employees not want to do their job and screw off, and a mobile device is a perfect tool for that. So I get that part of it, but at the same time, with good, proper supervision, you don't have to worry about that. It's not a thing. So it's not a thing. Your employees will want to work for you, and if they are using their phone, it's probably because they need to. You know, I mean, because there are times when people need to communicate. It's just the way it is. But yeah, I would reevaluate that policy myself, I do believe. Indonesia arrests 2 hackers over $60 million fraud that targeted U.S. jobless during COVID pandemic. Scientists create first chimeric human monkey embryos which can survive up to 20 days. Not a fan of that headline, nor am I a fan of that particular type of advancement. Russian stock market shrugs off new U.S. sanction risks. India aiming to produce 100 million doses of homegrown Covaxin COVID-19 jab per month by September. Australian medicines regulator reports first blood clot death likely linked to AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. Let's see, not just tinned goods, sales of luxury goods boom in Russia during pandemic as closed borders see consumers splash cash at home. A 70-year-old woman savagely beaten on LA bus, allegedly because she looked Asian amid rash of hate crimes in California. Again, we're still on Friday's news. More than half of passports Cyprus issued to the rich foreigners were illegal, says the inquiry chief. Hackers leaked database with over 500,000 emails used to sign up to website in support of jailed Russian opposition figure Navalny. And that's, I've been saying it over and over and over, and I'll say it again. Be careful of running out and signing up to these websites that sound like a great idea. Because they're not always a great idea. They have actually been a nightmare. They have largely been a nightmare for people. I couldn't tell you the number of these offspring social media sites, if you will, that have been hacked and had huge amounts of user data hacked. And, I mean, not just small little bitty, sites like ours or anything like that. We're even Gab, which I consider Gab, a fairly established site, even them, But Parler was hacked. I mean, they're kind of going down the list, even the big ones, Facebook, Twitter, So be careful. And as I always say, don't be putting nothing on the internet anyway that you wouldn't tell the world. And I mean that whether it be in an email, in a private message, no matter what. Don't be putting stuff on the internet, period. No matter what and no matter way. I don't care if they claim to, this program you're using is claimed to, make you invisible and encrypt you and this, that, and the other. Don't. Just don't. Not a good idea, trust me. Because let's even say that you had truly an encrypted conversation with somebody, right? Truly encrypted, as if the government couldn't already decrypt that conversation, which they can. But let's say they couldn't, okay? It would only be a matter of time through technological advancement before they could decrypt it. So even if they've got a copy of that data, even though they can't decrypt that data, as long as they've got a copy of that data that they can decrypt at a later date, don't put anything on the internet anywhere, in any way, that you wouldn't want the world to know. Period. That's the most important rule you can follow. It truly is. I don't say anything anywhere. I really don't say anything anywhere that I wouldn't say right here in the open. I don't. Not a single thing. I know better. Anyway, continuing on. People get more COVID scans leads to more lung cancers being detected. First Russian honorary fellow of top U.S. Surgical Society. That's what they said. Google goes dark. U.S. servers report massive outages of search giant. Again, this is Friday's news. Chinese vaccine 67% effective in preventing symptomatic COVID-19, says Chilean government. Merkel says she's happy after receiving AstraZeneca's COVID-19 jab as blood clot concerns persist. Germany facing a very serious third wave, Merkel warns and push for wider COVID powers. Controversial sex ed bill divides Arizona as governor weighs putting brakes on gender identity and sexual orientation classes. Putin ponders whether Russia should reciprocate Biden's new sanctions as Kremlin insists economy robust despite U.S. measures. Russia to expel 10 American diplomats and considering painful measures aimed at U.S. businesses, says Lavrov. Russian MiG-31 fighter jet races to escort American spy plane in skies over Pacific Ocean amid growing tensions with Washington. again on Friday still. Rome undertakers protest over coffin backlog as city battles to find enough burial plots for COVID dead. Stop the saber rattling and begin de-escalation before Russia-Ukraine conflict turns into nuclear holocaust, Gabbard tells Biden. Scientists discover over 500 genes common to both anxiety disorders and depression in major breakthrough. The world's biggest vaccine producer blames Biden's embargo on crucial raw materials for crippling production of COVID-19 jabs. Keeping the insurrection alive, anti-Trump Lincoln Project live tweets Capitol riot and gets accused of re-traumatizing people. Fauci says COVID vaccine booster trials ongoing already for original coronavirus and South Africa variant. By the way, backing up to this, how is that so traumatizing? I'm still at a loss at how the left is reacting to what happened January 6th. I mean, come on. Other than government killing citizens, I mean, it wasn't totally peaceful, but at the same time, could you even compare it, even remotely, to what is happening and been happening on the streets across all kinds of U.S. cities? Night after night after night after night? It doesn't even come close. But yet we keep hearing about how traumatizing and how horrible of an event that it was. And here in my head, I'm visualizing people walking calmly within the velvet ropes. And I know there's more stuff that went on than that. Don't get me wrong. But it wasn't an all-out madhouse. Not even close. Not even close. And why that is so concerning to me, by the way, I need to finish my thought. Why that's so concerning to me is because they're brainwashing the public. That's what they're trying to do. And they're trying to make it seem a million times worse than what it was. Because I'm telling you, we've got a lot of nasty stuff coming down at the pike. And they're going to be using this as a stepping stone for a big part of it. I'm telling you. Don't be surprised if we don't have some interesting things happen soon. Because they do need more stepping stones. Okay, you're a guest in a black space. BLM activist tells white ally at Minnesota protest, you don't belong. I don't know, just reading the headlines. Cuba's Castro steps down, says he's handing power to the next generation of anti-imperialist leaders. Russia bans FBI and DNI directors Susan Rice, John Bolton, and A.G. Garland from entering in new tit-for-tat sanctions blacklist. Still on Saturday, by the way. Blood clotting illness, PVT, 30 times more prevalent in Moderna Pfizer COVID-19 recipients than AstraZeneca, says Oxford researchers. With coronavirus surging, Brazil tells women not to get pregnant until a better moment. I don't know when a better moment's going to be. FedEx gunman was previously questioned by FBI over mother's concerns he might commit suicide by cop. Let's see. SpaceX gets NASA contract to develop and build Artemis lunar lander. Still on Saturday, by the way. AOC immigration advocates fume after Biden fails to raise Trump-era cap on refugee admissions, breaking his election pledge. Canada's Ontario to set up COVID-19 checkpoints at borders with Quebec and Manitoba provinces to turn away non-essential travelers. Let's see. Something went wrong. Twitter suffers unexplained outage. Again, this was Friday's news. Okay, now we're to Saturday's news. Yay, yesterday. Pardon me. U.S. laments unwanted escalation and warns it reserves right to retaliate after Russia's tit-for-tat response to Biden's sanctions. And again, nonstop escalations back and forth. Things are not in a good space. They are not. Huge mistake. Florida Governor DeSantis blasts COVID-19 lockdowns, including the one he ordered last year. Protesters scuffle with Chicago police during march against shooting of teenager Adam Toledo. Expedition 64 back on Earth after 6 months on an International Space Station. Russia continues slashing foreign debt, cuts it by $8.6 billion since start of the year. Protesters smash windows and set fires in Oakland as anger over recent police shootings spreads across the U.S. Again, this is Saturday's news. Cruise ships help evacuees flee new blast from St. Vincent volcano that was visible from space. The Great British Garden Gnome famine. Elf is on the way after Suez Canal snarl up and COVID deprived UK of beloved ornaments. So hang in there, Brits. Your garden gnomes are on the way. So, hey, that might be an important thing. I know I've had, in my wish list on Amazon, I've had these little alien garden gnomes. They've been out of stock for like ever now. But I've had them in my wish list forever because I kind of like aliens. Anyway, China's Huawei plans to launch ultra-fast 6G networks by 2030, says the media. U.S. state-run RFERL knowingly violated Russia's laws, now tries to block fines in European court, FM spokeswoman tells RT. China denounces U.S.-Japan statement in which Washington vows to defend its Asian partner with nuclear capabilities. I'm telling you, things are ramping up. Make sure to include nuclear in your preps, right? Make sure to get iodide tablets. Make sure to have gas masks. Go and do your research on how to best prepare for a radiological threat. I mean, it's not just over, right? Don't just think that, if we would get involved in a nuclear exchange with another country, it doesn't necessarily just mean everything's over. It doesn't. There are things that you can do to safeguard, and as long as you're not right there, ground zero impact, there are things you can do to safeguard, and there are things that you can do to minimize the impact. The real problem comes to do with sustainability, but you have to survive that initial time period, survive from radiation poisoning and whatnot through that initial time period before there can even be a future. So, I would highly recommend that if that's an area that you've not really prepped like us, we haven't really prepped in that area, yeah, it might be a good idea. Russian internet giant Yandex mulls expanding food delivery service to 2 European capitals as COVID-19 pandemic boosts demand. I know there's one company that's going to be expanding here where we live, like in another month. I'm trying to think. Do you remember the name of it? One of them we see all the time that's affiliated with multiple fast food companies, not Uber Eats, DoorDash. Yeah, I think they're supposed to start here where we live in like another month or so, which we don't eat out very often. We eat out very, very little, but we don't drive. So even if we do have a couple of bucks and want something a little different, we normally abstain because we don't have a way to go get it. So that's going to be kind of cool if we got a few extra bucks and, I don't know, get a craving for Burger King or something. But kind of looking forward to that. A U.S. production rebound will lead to new oil price war, shale executive says. Still on Saturday's news, by the way. West cited fake news to justify bombing Syria, MEP tells RT after confronting compromised OPCW chief over Duma report. U.S. at risk of armed anti-police insurgency within 5 years, a researcher claims. I thought that was kind of interesting. Russia's FSB security agency detains Ukrainian consul in St. Petersburg as he tried to collect secret data from Russian citizen. Portland rioters torch Apple store as another police killing sparks wave of destruction. Again, this is yesterday's news. Woman with dementia sues Colorado police officers alleging excessive use of force in 2020 arrest. Tehran pushes back after Ukraine's security chief accuses Iran of intentionally shooting down passenger plane. System irregularity leaves Twitter users in the dark and support accounts down as outage continues. I know I was having some kind of wonky issues with it when that was going on. And it happened right as I was sitting down to put out headlines. There were issues the night before. That's right. There were issues the night before, which is what this was. And then the following morning, there were issues again. And I think those would be in the headlines, too. I'm saying the following morning. I guess it was this morning. Yeah, I had to wait this morning before I could put headlines out. I think it was this morning, because when I went to go do it, there was login issues with Twitter on the desktop. Mobile, I guess, wasn't affected by it. Anyway, Ant Group explores options for Jack Ma to exit as Beijing unsheaths its sword against China's big tech. We may find signs of life on other planets in next 5 to 10 years thanks to powerful new telescope, claims a researcher. Czech Republic to expel 18 Russian diplomats, citing claim that intel officers involved in 2014 munitions depot explosion. Still on Saturday, by the way. Iran identifies suspect behind explosion at Natanz nuclear site and says he fled the country. Honoring World War II heroes as racist, WNBA and Nike canceled jersey commemorating female Army pilots because no black women were allowed. Surreal scenes in Minneapolis as National Guardsmen order women out of car at gunpoint at a gas station. Irish president sparks bitter Twitter war after lowering flag in honor of British Prince Philip. Biden finally admits to border crisis, says U.S. couldn't manage migrant surge and boosting refugee flow at the same time. Would-be robber squeals like a pig after being body slammed and pinned to the pavement by his intended victim in viral video. Breonna Taylor's mother condemns Black Lives Matter chapter as a fraud and says her family's name has been used to raise money. 3 kids or more, Chinese researchers call to abandon birth limits to ensure immigration-fed U.S. can't outperform Beijing by 2050.
Okay, now we're to today's news. On that note, I'm going to have a sip of tea and a couple of vapes. I earned them. So yeah, like I say, I highly recommend getting prepared. Oh yeah. And I know I've said this many times before, but I'll say it again. Sometimes when I share out headlines, it's not because I'm standing behind anything. I do news, right? There used to be a time where people could do news and they didn't have to pick a side. They could just do news. And sometimes that news wasn't necessarily something that we would agree with, but it was still news. And sometimes that news that we don't necessarily agree with because it's jacked up, it's still important to know, because it's important to know what kind of BS they're trying to feed people. Okay? And this very next headline is the epitome of that. Okay? So, because I know I catch flack sometimes on Facebook when I share out headlines because, because of what it is. And I get it. And, but it's not my job. And I try not, when I'm here, when I'm doing the headlines here, it's different. I'm in a different space. But when I'm sharing the links out on Twitter and on Facebook, it's not my job to interfere. Okay? And by interfere, I mean it's not my job to put my thoughts, my views with that. I'm sharing out somebody else's news article. Yeah, I could sit there and do commentary on it all day long. But that's not what my intent is. My intent is to spread the information, right or wrong. And when I say that, I'm not trying to spread misinformation. The word misinformation can get sticky, because some things are just flat out lies, some things are misleading, some things are misrepresented. Statistics get misrepresented horribly all the time. And this headline has a lot to do with that. Statistics being misrepresented horribly. So I just wanted to put out that disclaimer because I've had people be like, I can't believe that you think that. No, I never said I did think that. Again, the next headline is the epitome of why I just said that. Okay. The U.S. has reported at least 45 mass shootings in the last month. I'm going to repeat that headline because it's crazy. The U.S. has reported at least 45 mass shootings in the last month. Now, when you read that headline or when you hear that headline, it's like, holy shit. You have to understand they redefined what they consider a mass shooting. And now, when they try to come up with these shock numbers like this, they include stuff that they know damn well doesn't fit. Like stuff that they know is known gang activity, stuff like that. They throw it in there. And that does not fit. That does not fit. But they'll throw it in there anyway because they had, 3 or more individuals or something? And they'll just throw it in there to add another number on the statistic, right? The reason I shared this out wasn't because I agree with it. I think it's a bunch of BS. But I shared it out because it's important that you know that BS that they're trying to push. Because I'm telling you, like I said months ago, and the years leading up till now, that they were going to be making a big push. Well, we are there. We are experiencing that big push right now, and that is going to include gun control. And it's not going to stop. And I don't know how quickly they're going to achieve it, but you can bet your ass they're going to achieve it. They're going to achieve it. So pay attention to this rhetoric. That's what I call it. I call it rhetoric. Pay attention to this rhetoric. Because I think you're going to see it escalate tremendously. But the difference between now and before is I don't think you're going to see it let up. I think you're going to see them stay on it. And I also don't think that you're done seeing events happen. I think maybe you've just started seeing that. So, again, I don't always share out a headline because I even agree with what the headline says as far as the content, because by their numbers and their games that they're playing, yeah, they could come up with that number, okay? But in reality, in what a true mass shooting is, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's ridiculous. Anyway, sorry. I digress. Let's see. We've got to get more confrontational. Representative Maxine Waters shows up in Brooklyn Center and slams curfew and leaves before it kicks in. A Russian e-commerce giant Wildberries launching sales in the U.S. Bitcoin crashes 15% as global regulators hesitate to greenlight crypto for commercial use. The West must penalize anti-Muslim hate just like it outlawed Holocaust denial, Pakistani PM Khan says amid anti-French riots. Oregon may indefinitely extend controversial mask mandate as other states begin to ease COVID-19 restrictions. China's back on gold buying spree, opens borders to $8.5 million worth of shiny metals, says reports. No hurry to open borders. Australian PM signals essential travel restrictions might be eased only in second half of 2021. U.S.-backed coup plot involving assassination of Belarusian president, other officials foiled by Minsk and Moscow. Humans now trust algorithms more than each other, according to new research. I don't know about that. I trust computers as about the same as I trust people. They both make mistakes. Minecraft developer says it wants pixelated game to inspire players to fight against racial inequities and climate change. Schools reopening and no more mask wearing outdoors as Israel praises its vaccination campaign. New York Post criticized for interviewing consensual incest decriminalization advocates who claim they should have same rights as gays. COVID-19 side effect, why have people started spending heavily on sports cards and memorabilia? RT's Boom Bust finds out. I didn't read the article. I find that crazy. Piers Morgan slams disgraceful ex-PM Cameron for reportedly trying to cash in on pandemic as lobbying row deepens. Russia sees record share of cash-free transactions as it moves closer to cashless society. Scientists reveal new explanation for why people are persistently hungry all the time. You needed scientists to say that? Like, really? I've been saying it for quite some time. It's because our food lacks nutritional value. Yeah, you blanded the hell out of our food. You've made us sterilize it and process it and clean it and nurture it and whatever you want to call it. Not nurture it, that's actually the opposite. But you basically made us destroy our food and turn it into something that is unsustainable in guise of what you call food safety. You know, that's one part of it. And then the other part of it's all the factory stuff, the factory farming and all that stuff. Our food has no nutrition. There's nothing good about our food anymore. Nothing, right? And I believe that all of it has something to do with it. I mean, when you raise animals, right, for food, for butchering or what have you, you know, I do believe that the animals that are treated with love and care and respect, you know, I do believe wholeheartedly that is going to be a more nutritional food. I have no doubt of it. No doubt of it. And so I think that from all angles, when it comes to our food supply, I think that it's had so much nutrition stripped away from it that's why we just keep eating and we're not getting healthier. We're not getting our needs met. But we just keep eating more and more and more as a society, as a whole. And of course it's causing a epidemic when it comes to weight and all the illnesses that entails. But you know, at the same time, it just we get sicker all the way around because our immune systems can't work properly. Our bodies just in general can't function properly. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's something I've been saying for a long time. Scottish police confirm male-born rape suspects are recorded as female where requested, regardless of legal status. At least 8 passengers killed, some 100 injured as train derails in Egypt. Renewables dominate the headlines, but oil and gas remain king. A man who was pulled over for running a red light attacks NYPD officers with chemicals and Molotov cocktail. Russia to withdraw from International Space Station starting from 2025, Deputy PM confirms, as Moscow works on replacement. I also thought that was kind of an interesting headline to note, too. Police in Minnesota round up journalists covering protests and force them on the ground and take pictures of their faces. Syria to hold presidential elections in late May amid decade-long war. Russia's Rosatom likely to get barred from $7 billion Dukovany nuclear plant tender, Czech minister says, amid ammo depot blast scandal. Technology is disrupting human circadian rhythms and robbing us of sleep. Have no doubt of that. Did they shake Biden's stairs too? Russians say LMAO after Salisbury poisoning suspects linked to explosion at Czech ammo depot. Academic wants Baba Black Sheep and Jingle Bells replaced with songs of acceptance and social justice. Like how I did that. Justice. 3 killed in ongoing active shooter situation in Austin, Texas. Fauci blasted for deeming gun violence a public health issue, criticizing vaccine hesitancy while backing tough COVID restrictions. Sorry. I'm an idiot sometimes. Okay, I'm an idiot all the time. Let's see. Brian Stelter says there was no cover-up after CNN sat for 4 days on news of crew assaulted by protesters. Half of U.S. adults have received at least one COVID-19 shot. Russia tells 20 Czech diplomats to leave before April 19th in response to Prague's expulsions. NBA warns teams to be prepared or postpone games amid fears of civil unrest from verdict of Derek Chauvin case, says reports. And we normally don't cover sports stuff, but I thought this was actual newsworthy enough, although sports related. More than half of Americans now partially vaccinated, 1/3 fully jabbed up, CDC's data shows. Spanish police raid illegal 3D printed weapons workshop capable of producing a gun barrel in minutes. And I think they screwed that up because, yeah, I think they mean the lower is what they're talking about, not the actual barrel. Because pretty sure you're not going to 3D print the barrel. Just saying. We can and should get out earlier. Trump slams Biden for using September 11th as Afghanistan withdrawal date. Armed carjacking suspect shot dead in Minnesota, almost triggering another BLM march for victim of police brutality. And I see a number 2 up there. A Michigan Governor Whitmer, who sought grace when aide vacationed in Florida, blames returning snowbirds for COVID-19 case surge. And Utah ABC affiliate doxes paramedic and sends crew to his house after hack reveals he donated $10 to a Kyle Rittenhouse defense fund. How terrible, how terrible. Anyway, wow. There's a long news tonight. I'm going to get the hell out of here because I can. Anyway, I hope everybody has a good evening. That was a whole hell of a lot of news to cover. We shall see you soon. I will probably be back on Patreon as far as the live tomorrow night, but I do plan to get back in the swing of things of getting the headlines videos out and posted on YouTube. So, anyway, I hope y'all have a good evening. Keep prepping. Do not stop. No matter how big, how small, how fast, slow, doesn't matter. Keep at it. But don't stop living life. Anyway, have a good night. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.